This video is a demonstration of how to do principal component analysis using SAS or SAS. I already put the information in that we need here. The first 11 lines of this SAS code are the data statement here. And then it's very similar to what we had in video 4.8, the supplementary video on that using SAS. But instead of doing proc and then factor here, we're doing proc PRINCOMP for principal components. Notice at the end n equals 2 because we are extracting two components. The COV is for covariance as opposed to previously when we did this earlier in the chapter, we did correlation matrix. Now notice the out option here. This is very important because it specifies that component scores should be calculated and then appended to the input data. The entire structure is then written to the file that is specified after out equals. In the next section that starts with Proc Print, that is to print out the input data augmented by component scores. And then the last one, Proc Plot, here basically is just used to print a scatter plot of each observation in the 2D space of component 1 and component 2. So let's run this and look at the output. So click the little running man here at the top. Alright, now let's look at our output here. We can see here on the covariance matrix, the diagonal contains the total sum of the squared coefficients that you can see in table 4.8. We can also see the eigenvalues of the covariance matrix. We've got eigenvalues of 37.379 and 5.021, also corresponding with table 4.8 in the text. And we have our eigenvectors as well. Now the three crucial elements of the output are the Pca coefficients, which are these eigenvectors here. It's the same thing as the K matrix, or the matrix of factor loadings. We already talked about the eigenvalues that we have here, and also the component scores, or the factor scores. And we can see those down here when we look at the printout of input data augmented by the component scores. We see these values here on the right, the far right two columns. Now these component scores differ from those calculated when we use the equation y equals xk previously in the text in video 4.13. And they differ because the default condition in SAS is to calculate the centered component scores as opposed to the uncentered component scores. And the centered component scores are just the component scores as deviations from their respective means. But we'll talk more about these centered component scores in the next video, 4.17. But this is just to give you a demonstration of how to do principal components in SAS. Hope you enjoyed.